The once seen long shot candidate in the 2016 race, well, he's just there to pump up the liberal bona fides, is gaining traction in the first in the nation state of New Hampshire. It's burn-momentum. It's brewing all over the Granite State. The Boston Globe's James Pendle joins me now. James, are you feeling the burn, sir?
How can you not? I even messed up my hair a little bit in honor of the Bernie.
Get excited. Let's talk about this, because it seems that all the people who are going to support Elizabeth Warren have just gone over to Bernie Sanders without so much as a problem. And it does seem to me that he actually is resonating with a lot of people. He's getting these large crowds. Where do you think that comes from?
Look, there are some fundamental reasons why Bernie Sanders is drawing these kind of crowds. In New Hampshire, it's that they've never really had a liberal candidate that they can follow, really since another person from Vermont in 2003 and 2004 with Howard Dean. In Iowa, of course, there are more fundamental issues. The fact that the Clintons never campaigned there back in 1992 is still a legacy, and then the makeup of the caucuses themselves. They're more peaceniks and more of the base. But the truth is that Bernie Sanders has been drawing these large crowds for over a year. I think the first time I really saw him in a campaign context was April 2014, so well over a year ago, and he had 400, 500 people in a room. But I think what's happening now is that we're seeing bigger events because he actually has a campaign. And second, we're seeing these poll numbers that have really come out in this last week, 2 polls this week showing him really within striking distance.
Yeah. I went to a Bernie Sanders rally, and I was talking to some of the voters, and I said,
and you survived.
I survived, right. I survived his announcement out in front of the Capitol. But I was asking them, I said, look, what is it about this guy that resonates with you? And one guy said to me, he goes, he has no ulterior motives here. He has no agenda. Sort of along the lines of usually politicians, they seem to be very egotistical. They come across as very manipulative. They're they have great haircuts. They're well presented. There's a little bit of, what is this guy really trying to do? Is he really fighting for me? Bernie Sanders gets up there, rolls up his sleeves. His hair is completely messed up. He says, I'm a socialist. He's clearly not in this for the money. He's clearly not in this for special interest politics. And that authenticity, I think, resonates with a lot of people. The question then becomes, though, is can that authenticity sustain a 50-state primary campaign, which the Clintons have the money for? And probably at the end of the day, he doesn't.
Yeah, 2 points on that. First, you have these 2 sides of the same coin. With the one hand, people say dismiss him. There's no way Bernie Sanders is either A, going to be president. That's not going to happen. And B, there's no way he's ever going to beat Hillary Clinton. I mean, really. But on the other side of that is, for those same reasons you're saying that, he is 100% authentic. People say, well, he doesn't play the game enough. He's not as much of a politician, but he has that authenticity down. The second part, and it's something that in the press here we have not really explored, something I'm beginning to explore, is the idea that, look, Hillary Clinton's going to have all this money, and there's no way that Bernie Sanders can sustain a 50-state campaign. But there is one scenario where he can ironically, very ironically, be a huge pain in the butt for the Clintons, and that's super PACs and Citizens United. Remember, Bernie Sanders is not going to get kicked out of this race because he loses particular states. He's going to get kicked out of this race for president when he is broke or when there's no more money to sustain a campaign. And so, ironically, this guy who hates Citizens United and talks about it in every speech, if he uses the rules as they are now to his advantage, he could really be a thorn in the side.
He could, and he could stay alive a lot longer than one would expect, but he probably won't do that. He says he's not even going to run a negative ad. We'll see if that holds up as it moves forward. One thing, though, that I think we overlook is that when you see national polling, a lot of people do align themselves with Bernie Sanders. I mean, he's been out in front on income inequality for a long time in his career. He was very opposed to the Iraq War and U.S. intervention. And I think a lot of people lose sight that what he says on the issues actually resonates not just with a lot of liberals, but with a lot of people who want to shake up the establishment. We see that in so many of these recent elections. It's this idea of throw all the bums out. Bernie Sanders, it seems, is like the opposite of the bum. He's the guy that's going in there with no motive, as we said before, and really trying to shake up that tree. How much of that do you think is an appeal, that this is a guy who wants to go there and just sort of clean house?
There's no question that is one of the big parts of the Bernie Sanders appeal. But again, in the context of history, we've always had this sort of liberal alternative when it comes to these Democratic presidential primaries. Bill Bradley, Howard Dean. In a way, it got a little bit more complicated because it was Obama and Edwards and Kucinich. But the question really is, how high is the ceiling going? We don't question the legitimacy that there is something there going with Bernie. No one's questioning that people are aligning with him. The question is, how much are they really how high can he really go? And the fact that he's in one of these polls just 10 points behind Hillary Clinton is stunning, particularly when she was up 34 points or something in January and February.
I think his best opportunity is going to be the debates to really show a clear divide, and he will come across as a lot more authentic than O'Malley and Jim
what
Webb.
Do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do if you're Hillary Clinton, right? Are you really going to engage back and forth with Bernie Sanders when it comes on these issues, or is she going to try to be above the fray? And the one last element we got to talk about is while we talk about what this dynamic means, why is Bernie surging? What's up with Hillary? What's up with Martin O'Malley? Okay, here's a guy who was supposed to be the alternative to Hillary Clinton. He's been going all in. He's got his super PAC, and he's at 1% in the polls.
But he lacks the authenticity. See, that's the thing which is amazing, is that you have O'Malley that looks the role of the politician. He's a handsome guy. He's well coiffed, tight-fitting suits, the whole 9 yards.
He plays the guitar, Luke.
He plays the guitar. He made Maryland into the liberal utopia specifically to try and occupy this space in the Democratic side. And he's not getting the momentum because I think people look at Bernie Sanders and they say, you know what? If these guys are selling me the same thing, I want to go with the guy who I trust more. And Bernie Sanders seems to have that amazingly. So it's quite remarkable. All right, real quick, I'll get you out of here with this one. One voter told me that Bernie Sanders was a craft beer and Hillary was generic. If Bernie Sanders is a craft beer, which beer is he?
Well, a Woodstock beer.
A
He's got to be Woodstock,
beer.
right?
That's right, from Vermont. We'll go with that.
Of course, and I reject the premise. I mean, Hillary Clinton's probably champagne, right?
Republicans will say that. James Pindle, appreciate it, my friend. Take care.
Thank you.
That does it for our special New York edition of The Briefing here on Shift. You can catch up on the show and me anytime, MSNBC/The Briefing, or on Hulu with Alex Baldwin. Have a great weekend.